All right, welcome to the Carl Jackson Show, your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. Well, it looks like we have a dock workers strike that is happening. Basically, a middle finger to many Americans that will suffer underneath this strike. The impact will be huge on the economy. The impact will be huge on jobs, and it'll be huge for everyday Americans. Joining me now is Jim Nelles. Jim Nelles has been on my program actually several times before. He's a naval veteran, he's an economist, and he's a supply chain expert. You might recall, you may or may not, because I can't remember if I talked to Jim online or offline about it, but Jim warned me the last time that he was on that this was looming. This strike could be coming. We were already seeing this stuff take place in Canada. Again, Jim Nelles, economist, supply chain expert, writes for the Daily Wire and the Washington Examiner. Jim, welcome back to the program.
Carl, it's great to be on with you again. Thanks for having me as always.
All right, Jim. So here's what I want to do, because I really want people to understand how this will impact the everyday American. And I really do want to get into how this might, in your opinion, impact the presidential election. And I've got some questions for you there. But first, let me start here. I was reading a Reuters column, Jim, and it was talking about the significance of this strike, and this is a strike that will impact 100,000 union workers that will be laid off. Actually, I heard that in an interview that you gave earlier. Is that true, Jim?
Yeah, so the president of the International Longshoremen's Association, a gentleman named Harold Diggett, and I use the word gentleman loosely, has claimed that he wants to cripple the United States economy in order to get the wages that he feels his people deserve. Economists have estimated that up to 100,000 union workers could be laid off as a result of this as the strike goes for more than 1 week. So these will be truck drivers, these will be warehouse workers, these will be grocery store people who stock your shelves. Then you're going to get into auto workers, you're going to get into carpenters who build your houses. This could be devastating to the United States economy. There are estimates from JP Morgan that say shutting down these ports will cost us $5 billion per day of lost commerce. And for every day of the strike, it's going to take 1 week to recover, meaning if the strike goes for 7 days, it'll take almost 2 months to get back to normal, which puts us almost into Christmas time when that happens.
Okay, so everything that you've mentioned, this is when you can tell that you have a great guest that actually knows what they're talking about. Like Jim almost knocked out all of my questions, so now I'm a little frustrated because I'm like, I guess we could end the interview, but we're gonna delve into some of the answers that he just gave, because my goal, listen, Jim knows this stuff backwards and forwards. I read about this stuff, but obviously I don't know it near as well as Jim. And so what I want Jim to be to do is to relay this to the everyday American, so you understand how these people are literally screwing us right before the election, and they're not afraid to do it. I'm wondering how many people out there, how many of you are able to demand a 50% pay raise during the Biden-Harris economy, because that's exactly what's going on.
Actually, Carl, let me interrupt you there. They rejected a 50% pay raise. That was on the table yesterday. They want a 77% pay raise. You know what? I'd be happy with the 50% pay raise. I don't know about you, but I'll take that. But no, they rejected a 50% they rejected 50%. They want 77. But the bigger thing that they want is they want to keep the United States ports in the 18th century. They want no automation in the United States ports. They don't even want readers at the gates that can read the license plates of the trucks that then would then open the gate and allow the truck to come in. They want two union guys there with a clipboard making $45 an hour to do so. This is why when it comes to efficiency, United States ports rank behind third world nations like the Congo. The Congo has more efficient ports than the United States does right now. It's really embarrassing. This guy, the president of the Longshoremen's Association, he is on video. You can go on YouTube and look him up. He believes that ATMs and easy passes are the work of the devil. He's so into wanting to preserve union jobs. But you know what he's going to do? He's going to destroy union jobs, because guess what's happening south of the border? China right now is building or expanding 4 ports in Mexico, 2 on the West Coast, 2 on the East Coast, and they will all be fully automated, and they are going to take over for the United States, and we're going to just sit back, watch it destroy itself, and then all of these union workers are going to lose their jobs.
All right, so Jim, I want to circle right back to the point you just made. And actually, what I'm doing is in the middle of this because I'm multifaceted, talented. I'm sending Gabe the video because I'd like him to play this video of this gentleman. Daggett is his name. So I'm sending this to him now. Gabe, let me know if you've got that in my ear, please. But I think this is very important to play. But I want to circle back to the point that you were just making about automation because you said something and it went by so quickly. But you're absolutely right. This is a guy that absolutely, I guess, despises any form of modernity because you'll make a lot more money just sitting there and being inefficient. Meanwhile, and I heard you say this in another interview as well. I didn't realize, or perhaps I had forgotten from another interview with you, that we were literally behind the Congo when it comes to our shipping ports. Is this, in your opinion, this is a national security threat?
It is a national security threat because think about it. If a place like the Congo can unload ships at 5 times the rate that we do in the United States, and we have an issue like we had during the supply chain crisis with COVID, or think about if we actually have to go to war with China and then fight another war in the Mideast, and we have to load and unload ships, and we can't do it at the pace that we need to do because we've resisted automating the plants, or the ports. But here's the thing, Carl. There was a terminal at the Port of Los Angeles that was built by a private company. They went fully automated. Guess how many union workers lost their job? 5% of the union workers there lost their job. And guess what this company did? They gave them all other jobs. So we're not talking about putting everyone out of work. We're talking about becoming efficient. We're talking about being not just in the 21st century. Let's just come into the 20th century with some of the stuff that we're doing. And let's get our ports and our infrastructure into the place where we can be competitive once again and bring costs down for the American people. The reason we pay such high prices for a lot of things is because of our inefficiencies, and it is driven by people like Harold Daggett who don't want to transform, who want to stay back in the antiquated ways. If it was up to him, he would have every piece of cargo pulled by a horse and buggy right now because trucks make it too efficient, and that puts more buggy drivers out of work.
Okay, so I'm astonished by this answer you gave because it was going to be one of my follow-up questions. If we were to automate our ports and come into the 20th century, at least you're saying that you're looking at, and I don't want to minimize any job loss, but it sounds like it's just almost a reshuffling for the most part. But you're saying potentially perhaps 5% of the unionized workforce could be lost. And again, I don't want to minimize any job loss, but that is much better than I expected to hear. I'm thinking this guy is willing to destroy the U.S. economy because you're looking at 50% of workers being out of work, but that's not the case.
That's not the case. And if he was a smart man, and he's not, and I can go back to some of his quotes that he's given that proves he's not a smart man, he would be negotiating the following. I will embrace automation if you, the U.S. Maritime Alliance, which is the group that negotiates on behalf of the ports and the carriers, if you will guarantee me that every person displaced gets another job that pays the same rate, and it's your responsibility to do that, if you will guarantee that in writing, then I will embrace automation and we'll get a contract done and we'll get a 50% pay raise for the folks that are left doing this work. That's not an unreasonable request. And I guarantee you that is something that the carriers would honor because they want to automate and they have other opportunities for these folks to go do other jobs. It's just like when Joe Biden says, hey, we're going to go to all EVs and whatever auto workers are put out of work, we'll get them other jobs doing other high-paying stuff because that's what we're going to do. If this was part of the Green New Deal.
All right, so here, okay, so Harold Daggett just making the point that you made. He has a smarter option. He could leverage the negotiations to get these union workers jobs elsewhere. He's not going to do that. Let me just ask the rhetorical question here, Jim. Why won't he do that?
Because he is one of these negotiators that doesn't think about the net benefit. He only thinks about wanting to win. And for him, winning means two things: getting a 77% pay increase and getting no automation and no semi-automation in the ports. He doesn't think this stuff through. And again, this is a man who isn't well-informed, or he lies. He claims that these companies are making billions and billions of dollars. Maersk, one of the largest ocean freight carriers in the world, their net profit margin is only 6.25%, meaning they get about 6 cents on the dollar. Coca-Cola, They make 20 cents on the dollar for everything they do. He claimed that MSC, another large carrier, is bigger than Amazon in terms of revenue. That's a lie. Amazon's quarterly net income is $13 billion. MSC makes $100 million. So he's either ill-informed or he lies to his people, and he lies when he goes on TV. He lies when he goes on his YouTube videos. He doesn't understand how this works. And what he's going to do is he's going to destroy blue-collar workers' lives at this most important time of the year when people are trying to get ready for Christmas. They want to buy things for their kids. They want to provide a nice thing for their family over the holidays. And he's going to destroy that for all of them just to prove a point. And that is the wrong thing to do when you're leading a company or you're leading an association and you're responsible for the negotiation and the successful negotiation for those people.
All right, we'll be back with more of Jim Nelles on the other side. This is the Carl Jackson Show. Carl Jackson here. You've asked, and MyPillow has listened. They're finally bringing you the most requested offer ever. Right now, you can get the queen size premium MyPillow for just $19.98. MyPillow is made with a patented adjustable feel. It adjusts to your exact individual needs, regardless of your sleep position. It helps keep your neck aligned and holds its shape all night long, so you get the best sleep of your life. But that's not all. You can get their 6-piece kitchen or bath towel set for just $25. The brand new mattress topper for as low as $69.98, and their famous MyPillow bed sheets for as low as $25, and so much more. Go to mypillow.com or give them a call at 800-858-0263. Use the promo code Carl, C-A-R-L. I don't spell it like the communists, to get huge discounts on all MyPillow products, including the premium queen size MyPillow, again, for just $19.98. That's the lowest price ever. Don't delay. Order today. Use the promo code Carl at checkout. All right, hello and welcome back to the Carl Jackson Show. Again, I am joined by my guest, Jim Nelles. Jim Nelles is a columnist both for the Daily Wire and the Washington Examiner, also a naval vet, also a supply chain expert, and an economist. This guy is like a one-stop shop. So anyway, I love having Jim on. He and I have a good rapport, and he absolutely knows his stuff. And it's ironic because literally the last time that I had Jim on, I can't recall if it was on air or off air, but we were talking about the Canadian strikes briefly, and he warned me about this potential strike. And then here we are, Jim. So a few more questions for you that I'd like that so that the audience understands the impact of this. I mean, obviously, we have big news this week with Iran attacking Israel, obviously the VP debate, and obviously this race goes on. The people of that have been impacted by Hurricane Helene, which I think there's a little more going on there. We'll talk about that a little later on a later podcast or later in the program. But anyway, let me get right back to my guest. So 100,000 union workers will be laid off as a result of this strike. You've heard Jim make the case for automating the ports. And I mean, this is, just fascinating stuff. Now, Jim, let me ask you this. How do you suspect this will impact the presidential election? And then I'm not a conspiracy theorist, Jim, but let me add this part onto it, this question onto it. Is it possible that we're watching something that's staged that will eventually benefit Kamala Harris? Am I going too far with this?
Well, the only way this benefits Kamala Harris is if she sweeps in at the, if she would have swept in last night at the 11th hour and got both parties to sit down and negotiate and extend the contract and not strike, that would have helped her. Right now, this hurts them because if you look back at what happened last year, there were two potential strikes. One was with the railroads and one was with the West Coast dock union, the Dockworkers union. Both of those, the government intervened. They sent in not Mayor Pete, who's the head of transportation, because maybe he was on paternity leave again. I don't know. But they sent in the acting Secretary of Commerce, and she got both parties to sit down. Joe Biden got on the phone with those guys, and they got a deal done. He's refusing to do that now. But remember, since then, he also walked the picket line with the UAW. So now that it's an election year, he wants to show that he's pro-union because they want the union vote. So they're going to let this strike happen, hoping that it's going to get more and more blue-collar workers to come together. What we're seeing, though, Donald Trump's being very smart about this. Donald Trump came out with a statement today saying that this strike would have never happened had it not been for the inflation caused by the Biden-Harris regime, because he knows that now all these folks said, for the last 4 years, I've been paying these exorbitant prices and I haven't got a pay increase, and now I want money to make up for all the money I've lost underneath this administration. and then you add in those 100,000 plus workers who are going to be laid off because of this strike, and then you add in their friends and their family and the people who are also tangentially involved with this, they're all going to flip parties. So this is, I think, going to backfire on the Biden-Harris regime and benefit Donald Trump, because he's going to be seen as taking the high road and trying to negotiate a deal as opposed to taking sides with the workers versus taking sides with the American people. Because, Carl, the one thing we haven't talked about tonight is that this is going to lead to two things. It's going to lead to an uptick in inflation, and it's going to lead to an uptick in the unemployment rate. And that is bad for Kamala Harris when it comes to the election.
Yeah, okay, that's a good point. I'm glad you clarified that, or the process has already begun. You mentioned this earlier too, Jim, and so I was punching myself in the head right after I let go of that last question. But you're talking about for 1 week worth of cargo ships basically stuck at these ports. That's going to back up shipping for an entire month. I mean, that's kind of what we saw during the COVID lockdown era. Is that right?
So it's 1 week for every day.
1 week for every day. Okay.
Yeah. So the estimates are that for every day that they're shut down, it takes a week to catch up. So a 1 week strike is basically 2 months to catch up. A 3 week strike takes us into 2025. So that is how bad this is going to be. Boy, it would be nice to have automation, wouldn't it? Because if we had automation, we could catch up a lot faster. But no, we don't have that. So what are you going to do?
And here's what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about inflation. I'm concerned about price gouging, but probably necessarily so because you're going to have shortages. I mean, what type of consumer products do you suspect might be impacted immediately or the most?
Yeah. So the first shortages you're going to start seeing are with produce. You're going to see imports of fruits and vegetables that come from South America. They're going to start rotting on ships and rotting in the port because no one's there to pick them up and take them to the grocery stores. So if you wanted some bananas, you wanted some cherries, you wanted some peaches, you're not going to have them. Okay, it's a pain in the backside, but no one's going to lose their life over not having fresh cherries. The next thing you're going to see is automotive industry having to shut down plants because they can't get the computer chips that they need. They can't get the parts that they need that come in from Europe and from Asia. Then you're going to see things like pharmaceuticals and consumer goods and industrial goods being impacted. You've got to remember, people like Walmart, LG, Samsung are the largest importers on the East Coast. They are the ones importing the things that you and I buy every single day when we go to the store. Dollar General is another top 10 importer on the East Coast. It impacts working Americans. They won't be able to get the things that they need, which means you're going to have to go to other places to buy them, which means they'll pay higher prices. There'll be less supply, which means that you're going to have more demand for less supply, which leads necessarily to inflation, and we're going to see a repeat of what we saw back in 2022. Will it get to 10% in a short period of time? I don't think so, but you're going to see it start to tick up.
Wow. And keep in mind the Teamsters Union. I mean, this is the play they're making. You're right, Jim. I think this is going to backfire. But I mean, remember the Teamsters Union, they should have went ahead and endorsed Trump. They didn't do it, but nonetheless, their members wanted Trump or endorsed Trump or supported Trump overwhelmingly over Kamala Harris. So very good point that this is a play to try to get blue-collar workers. Don't think it's going to work. I want to play this video clip for you, Jim. This is your friend Harold Daggett. This is a clip. This is a clip that you mentioned earlier. Gabe, let's go ahead and roll that clip, por favor.
Today don't know what a strike is.
Right.
When my men hit the streets, from Maine to Texas, every single port will lock down. You know what's going to happen? I'll tell you. First week, be all over the news every night, boom, boom. Second week, guys who sell cars can't sell cars because the cars ain't coming in off the ships. They get laid off. Third week, malls start closing down. They can't get the goods from China. They can't sell clothes. They can't do this. Everything in the United States comes on a ship. They go out of business. Construction workers get laid off because the materials aren't coming in. The steel's not coming in. The lumber's not coming in. They lose their job. Everybody's hating the longshoremen now because now they realize how important our jobs are. Now I have the president screaming at me, I'm putting a Taft-Hartley on you. Go ahead. Taft-Hartley means I have to go back to work for 90 days. That's a cooling off period. Do you think when I go back for 90 days, those men are going to go to work on that pier? It's going to cost the company's money to pay their salaries. Well, they went from 30 moves an hour maybe to 8. They're going to be like this. Who's going to win here in the long run? You're better off sitting down and let's get a contract and let's move on with this world. And in today's world, I'll cripple you. I will cripple you, and you have no idea what that means. Nobody does.
Wow. Okay, so Jim, I'm not sure how much this Mr. T lookalike with you were speaking about this. I'm not sure how much money he makes, but 100,000 union workers laid off. I wonder what the difference is in their salaries compared to his.
I don't know, but here's the point: is that he doesn't understand how to negotiate because he's negotiating for today. He's not negotiating for tomorrow. And I've had people like that sit across from me in the negotiations before, and I've told them, you may be able to screw me for the next 8 months, but after those 8 months are over, you're dead. You're doomed. Because here's what's going to happen. Companies like MSC, companies like Maersk are going to go and buy some land and build their own ports that they will own, and they will be fully automated, and they'll start avoiding union ports. And they're going to then start having union workers leave the union and come to those ports to take the jobs that are there in the automated ports. And this guy is going to be looked back on in history as a complete idiot because he didn't understand the big picture. He only understood tomorrow. And he may win today, but he's losing tomorrow.
Jim, I got to tell you, we have less than a minute left. That was such a great answer. Let me follow up with this. Just 30 seconds, basically a follow-up to what you've just answered. Should dock workers be unionized, period?
Unions had a place a long time ago where people were dying every day on the job because the owners didn't care. Do unions have a place today? Maybe, maybe not. But people should have the choice of whether or not they should join the union or have to join the union and not be forced into doing it and paying dues to do so. So therefore, I like the right to work applications where people can choose or not choose to be part of the union, right, but they can still have access to those jobs, regardless of if they have a card or if they don't have a card.
All right. Love it. Jim Nelles, check him out at the Daily Wire and Washington Examiner. Always appreciate your time, Jim. Good stuff as usual. God bless you, man.
Have a great night, Carl. Thank you so much.